I want to give my brief thoughts on the Buffalo Bills through 6 weeks because obviously they've had a rough past couple of weeks, losing a game to Jacksonville in which they maybe should have won, and then winning a game against the Giants in which they probably should have lost, right? And so it's just a weird last 2 weeks for Buffalo, and obviously people are always going to overreact with the Bills, because they're a proven team that when they're up, get a lot of praise, and when they're down, they're going to get a lot of criticism, just kind of like the Chiefs or the Bengals or any of these teams that show up year after year and then have solidified pieces. And, I have to give the benefit of the doubt to Buffalo in a sense of, year after year, it's a long season. They go through inconsistencies, and by the end of it, they usually find rhythm. They usually figure it out. Just kind of like Kansas City, just kind of like Cincinnati. And, by the time December, January rolls around, they're you would say ready for the playoffs. Now, obviously, they haven't been able to get it done, but who really has? It's really just been Kansas City and the Rams in the last few years, and that team was stacked. Winning a Super Bowl is hard. Like, we know that. And, there are certain concerns with the roster, but for the most part, I can't help but feel like I'm watching the goddamn Ravens in a sense of they just can't stay out of their own way. They can't stop shooting themselves in the foot. And especially last night, it was definitely, and last night, I don't know what day this is coming out, but I'm referring to Sunday night. I'm recording this on Monday, excuse me. They definitely got in their own way multiple times. Turnovers, that Gabe Davis fumble, the tip interception, missed field goals, things like that, they'll be able to make those plays 8-9 times out of 10. But it is inconsistent week to week, and so it poses questions, but at the same time you think, they're going to bounce back. And so I'm so indifferent about this offense because one of the things I've really, really been kind of worried about in the past with this Bills team is that they can be very one-dimensional at times. Sometimes they can struggle to run the ball. A lot of times they can struggle to run the ball. For a while, it seems like they have fixed that, and even in the game against New York that just passed, they ran the ball quite efficiently. They ran for over 100 yards, and they've done that multiple times this year. James Cook has looked pretty good, and he's definitely probably the best back they've had, I would say, in quite a bit. And the run offense does look better this week. But then you have weeks like Jacksonville last week where they only ran for, I think, 30 yards, right? And so you wonder how consistent is that, and are they becoming predictable? And the thing is, when you have players as good as Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, most of the time it doesn't really matter if you're predictable because your players are just going to win. But I can't help but feel like their offense, specifically their passing offense, is missing one piece, one receiver, or maybe an inside receiver presence like a tight end. And a lot of people thought Dalton Kincaid, their first round draft pick, would be that. And it doesn't seem like that's necessarily revolutionizing their offense. I'm not going to sit here and say that Buffalo has gotten worse because they have not, especially not offensively. Again, they go through their woes, but they usually iron it out by the end of the year. And I still believe that they will, but they also haven't necessarily gotten better since last year. And it's a tough topic because they have had increased production on the ground, which is what they've been looking for in the past few years. And again, like I said, in a game like this game, or I believe it was the Raiders game, that they ran the ball phenomenally, right? And you say, oh, wow, that's scary if Buffalo can come out and consistently run the ball like that, given, we know how air raid they can be. But again, the inconsistencies such as the game like Jacksonville, you wonder, how sustainable is that? And like I said, just can't help but feel like something is missing in this offense, whether it is on the play calling, whether it's just them shooting themselves in the foot consistently and it will iron itself out. It's hard to say. And again, I know a lot of Bills fans, and I tell them year after year, I said, look, as long as you have this core, as long as you have Josh Allen and you have Diggs and, his receivers, Gabe Davis and whatnot, you're going to be able to compete for a Super Bowl. You're going to give yourself a chance. But at the same time, we talk about them getting over the hump to beat Kansas City, to beat Cincinnati, and all these other great teams. And again, I trust the Bills. Most times I'm shocked when they don't win. I was shocked when they didn't come out and play better against Cincinnati, right? Obviously, they could have very easily beat the Chiefs that one year. That was a very, very crazy game. And again, they have not gotten worse offensively by any means, right? It's just a matter of, are they striving to improve, or are they just saying, hey, man, we have a chance, which isn't, giving yourself a chance in this league is by no means a bad thing. So I say this confidently that the Bills will be okay. They will be in the playoffs again this year, and they will have a chance. Of course, they have to dethrone Miami off their division, but, we saw that they still can very well take care of Miami. And I think matchup-wise, they match up well against Miami in terms of, like, their offense is built to move well against Miami's defense. And then, of course, if their defense can step up and make enough plays, then they can run away with the game like they did against Miami a couple weeks ago. This year, we have a very, very large concern of health on the defense, though, with Buffalo. And it was a slight concern last year. It showed to be probably, one of the deciding factors, especially playing Cincinnati and just not being able to stop the run. But I've always thought that Buffalo's defense is a little small. They do a good job of making up for it with their middle presences like Matt Milano, but here's the problem: is Matt Milano is done for likely the year. And I'll say it, time and time again on this channel, I am a sucker to believe that, having a great middle presence, certain defenses can do without it, but especially a defense like the Bills, that great middle presence is a huge reason for their success. And, it's a little terrifying to know that they don't have that anymore. Now their front line is still great, and so I give them that in respects. And the secondary, we got questions there without Trey White, and just staying healthy. How are their cornerbacks going to hold up? But again, especially in terms of offensively, it's the same thing with teams like the Chiefs, like I said, where I do think they will iron themselves out. They do need to stay out of their way. The inconsistency worries me sometimes, but they figure it out, and they will figure it out enough to give themselves a shot to compete for the Super Bowl, which in the regular season, at the end of the day, that is all that matters. Now, with that being said, is this the year that they will get over the hump to win a Super Bowl? You never know. It's football. It's single game elimination in the playoffs, so it could certainly happen, which is why I say you just got to give yourselves a chance. On paper, of all the years to do it, it doesn't seem like this would be the year. But I also think that they are more stacked up against some of these teams. And I don't want to say the AFC is weaker, but it seems like, there's less teams that are like, oh, they're 100% going to beat, Buffalo. Not to say that there ever was, but with the way Cincinnati, of course, will likely get it going as they do. But it doesn't seem like there's any, one true powerhouse, and the AFC is kind of like even amongst like 6 or 7 teams right now. So once again, Buffalo has a chance. This is basically me saying they will be fine. Again, I'm not sure if this is the year I would take them to get over that hump and win a Super Bowl, but they will certainly give themselves a chance come January, February. And Bills fans, as painful as it can be at times, don't worry. You'll be fine. Like I mentioned, the defensive injuries worry me, but that is the great thing about having an offense that can be as explosive as Buffalo's is that a lot of times you don't need a complete lockdown defense to win football games. You just need them to get a few stops here and there. Do your job. But yeah, those just my brief thoughts on Buffalo right now through 6 weeks. Let me know what you think about this team and where they stack up against the rest of the AFC.